Hello, everyone. This is George. I am the founder at Maya Minds, and this is our second interview for the Maya Minds interviews. Today, I am speaking to Gurpreet. Hi, Gurpreet. How are you?
Hello, mate. Yeah, good. Thank you. Not bad.
Thank you so much for letting us interview you today. I'm very excited for everything we're going to be talking about, and I think the people listening are going to really enjoy it too. So Gurpreet works for Brixton Yoga, where he runs it, and
I'm the king.
I'll let you introduce it and kind of tell everyone about the stuff you guys do. And yeah, go ahead.
Yes. So it's a independent yoga studio. It's been running for around 7 years now. Right now, you're in the virtual studio. There's a sewing machine in one corner. There's some plants. I've relocated. I've just set up I set up a virtual studio on the first day of lockdown. I've been running classes in here every day since. We had 100 consecutive days of free yoga as an offering for
Yeah, that's
people
amazing that you did that.
first day. Yeah, it was definitely not in the plan at all. It was literally a case of, okay, all the studios have shut down now, and we are in this really bizarre and sort of like completely the weirdest situation. But yeah, on the first day, I just thought, well, I just want to keep connected to the students that I've built up. So as a small studio, it's been really something that's built up over 7 years, just by and large by word of mouth. And that's not because there wasn't like a grand plan to have a studio. There was just a plan to kind of start teaching classes. I just for pure enjoyment. I just enjoyed the experience of teaching classes so much, and then that it just slowly developed to more people joining classes and then offering more in the timetable. And then there was this kind of like organic process of building up the timetable to the point where I had 6 teachers coming in to take classes. I was taking a fair amount of classes myself, running everything along as all the bits and bobs that a small business kind of that you need to sort of like go through with a small business. Yeah, just doing everything from marketing to the full works.
All the behind scenes stuff. Yeah.
Nobody knows.
Yeah.
Only people who worked for themselves know what it's like. It's like a particular form of trauma that you just recognise it in a different in someone else who's done it. So, but then the 100 days is a similar thing. It was just like, let's just carry on doing what we're doing, and then once we were in a particular rhythm of it, we were able to start doing a few more classes, a few more, and just keep it going. And then there was just this point where someone said, "Well, I think it's been about 100 days," and like, wow, yeah, it has. And we had it's so nice. We had I kind of like just sent an email around to everyone just to say thank you for being a part of it over 100 days. But that, and honestly, it sounds going to sound so. It wasn't really then suddenly everyone would say thank you to me, but they did. Like it was just really, really nice, and people, a group of them got together and sent some flowers. You can see them actually. They're in the bottom right corner.
Oh
Um,
yes. Oh yeah. You can see it peeking up.
yeah, we got some flowers sent and a cake and stuff. And so,
Amazing.
but again, it was just something that really just do what you kind of just do what you do what you love to do, and then it was important to just mark. And it wasn't like it's hard to celebrate like this situation we're in, but
Yeah.
it's important to mark that something's happened which is positive in amongst it all. I think it's just getting people together, which was the key thing. Just getting people in a virtual space together, and to kind of like not be from a perspective of I'm a teacher, this is like an offering, you are taking it in, but actually like to work a bit as a group. You all get together in this group, you're all part of the space that we're creating, you're welcome in that space, and then in that group I think that's where a lot of positive things happen.
Yeah.
And that's essentially what we've been pushing from the very start as a yoga studio. Yeah, for sure.
From what the conversations that we've had, you seem to have such a awesome community. I remember you were saying that you were getting 40 to 100 people at these online classes, and
Yeah. I know over 100 households in some classes where, and that's like a few people in each house as well. So particularly at the start, there was a real demand for some kind of place to go to where you could see other people, and you can also do something, like I said, like I was just saying, something positive in amongst everything that's going on. And a lot of that stayed, a lot of it for sure. As soon as the hot weather came about, people were like, yeah, I'm off to the park. And but we've kept a real strong group throughout. And even today we had like kind of around 40 people in the morning class, and then you get around the same in the evening. So because we've got two classes now, we're hitting around 80 potential people a day, which is pretty incredible for a really small company.
It's brilliant. Just to consistently get that many people involved. Obviously what you're doing is helping them. And that's part of what this kind of interview is about. We want to talk about, these My Mind interviews, we're talking about mental health and how physical activity and sport can kind of encompass that. So to kind of zone into that, I think what we've been speaking about, I think yoga, from the one part, is the community that comes with it. You've developed this community, and I think yoga is one of those kinds of sports and kinds of activities where you can do it individually, but also there is that sense of community. And I think that is something that is strong in yoga. Would you agree?
Yeah, well, absolutely. The word yoga itself, the word yoga itself is defined by there's loads of different interpretations, in fact, of the word itself. But one idea is very, very simple. It's just that it means the word union. And I think that particular word, you can expand on it. So the idea of a union in terms of my training, sort of more Ashtanga-based training, the union is between the mind and the body. Okay, so it's about, there's these two separate things: the busy mind, thoughts, the repetitions of thought, the cycles, patterns of thought, and then there is the body. And it's about bringing the two things together, finding the breath and allowing the two things to come together. There's to sort of like take that and expand on that. It's the union between people as well. It's the individual self connecting to other people. A lot of the yoga practice, a lot of styles will reach, they'll try and get you to be able to practice a sequence, and you'll do the same sequence again and again, and you're going to get to a point where you can do this on your own, and so you can get into a meditative state where you can sit still and meditate and have control of the mind. And I think this is, or maybe this is just in my own head, I'm not sure. There's a lot of things that I think about, and then I'm like, yeah, I think I just invented that. But then it's like, this is a classic thing that's been going around for centuries.
It works. Doesn't really. Well, it does matter where it comes from. But yeah.
I thought I invented, when I first came across yoga, I thought I invented Vinyasa Flow Yoga, because I was like doing a sequence and I was like one posture to the other, and I was like, how about if I just went from this posture? But I went into like a reverse tabletop, like, wow. It's like, man, this is blowing my mind. I was like, I've gone into that, and then I went into this and I made this little sequence up that I was doing. I was out like backpacking, and I was just practicing all the time, and I did some Ashtanga yoga, and then I started to open it out into different things. And I was like, yeah, this is cool, just breathing, moving, free flowing. And I was like, I think I'm on something here. And I was like, that's, my mate was like, that's Vinyasa Flow Yoga, mate. That's sexual. I was like, all right, yeah, cool.
I think we've all had moments like that where you think of it, especially if you're kind of like businessy minded. You think of something like, oh, it's amazing. Then you quick Google search and you're like, there's 50 people doing that. Like, okay, yeah. But yeah, so you kind of touched on it, the kind of mind body connections, and that's something I'm really kind of interested in from our previous conversations. For the people kind of listening at home, could you give us a rough kind of I know you kind of went into a little bit there, but could you give us kind of an explanation of how it works and how it can affect us both negatively and positively?
Well, so I can speak about this from a particular perspective, which is yoga based, but it's not just yoga based as well. Before I trained as a yoga teacher, I trained as a dance and movement psychotherapist. So I was working in a very particular way with mind and body in a very healing, therapeutic context, and all of that kind of experience feeds into how I understand yoga now. So in our dance and movement training, we're trying to understand how. And I've noticed that in myself right now, because I'm doing this interview. I've noticed that I've just got my shoulders forwards, got this like arch of my spine. There's a sort of like protecting yourself thing that happens.
Yeah.
And it's like, you're not only just having an interview, but like if someone scares you, like straight away, you're like, oh, hang on a minute, you want to protect your organs, so you're arching, but you can stay in that state. So if you get too caught up with stressful environments that you're in or situations you're in, your body slowly responds to that. So this is something in our dance and movement training we're thinking about. And so we can see that. So if we, as a therapist, you notice someone, they might be saying, I'm feeling great, I'm all right. But the way that they say it, the way they hold their body communicates quite a lot outside of the verbal things that people are saying. So, like, and I just started to straighten out my shoulders because I was thinking, oh, right, yeah. But in our training, like to have the body in a more balanced position, right, is an echo of what's happening in the internal world. So the internal world, the thinking world, and the physical body, there's a connection between how these two things kind of work, live, or are, and the body will hold itself in a certain way, which is that counter to what's happening in the internal thinking space. And so, if you don't attune to that, if you don't get that balance between two things together, then you get the injuries. In sports people, in particular, you'll find all the injuries because there's so much. There's an imbalance in the mind, there's an imbalance in the body. You might be more dominant on one side than the other, and you keep getting injuries on one side. You might have the injuries happening in like the hamstring. I mean, I'm talking about my own football injuries here: hamstrings, calves, and you kind of like end up with this classic thing of, oh, you have to rest, come back, and you go back too strong, injured again, and then this cycle went on for a long time. Working through the therapeutic work as a dance and movement therapist, but also my yoga training, I eventually worked out just for myself that the problems lay in an imbalance in my spine. And I found out that one of my ribs was slightly out of place from this like big beefcake on a football pitch who just basically shoulder barged me in my ribs when I went for a header. I remember this incident years ago. It's a long time ago. And I thought I had some treatment, I thought it was fine, absolutely, don't have to think about that anymore. And over a period of time, there was a lot of muscles getting a little sort of gnarly around that area because there was that imbalance. Those muscles being gnarly were affecting my right hip, that was affecting my right knee, affecting my right ankle. And then with the physical practice, I started to understand what was going on, the imbalances, and work to it. But there's a whole like kind of deeper thing to think through about what's happening at an emotional level as well. And part of this thinking is that you can sort of like hold yourself a little bit in an injured state at an unconscious level. When you're ready, you can't like, I know that this guy got into my ribs, like this was like 10 years ago. I knew that this had happened. I've always known it's happened, but I never paid it any attention. There's a point where and maybe even like for a period of time studying psychotherapy, so hardcore, there's no time to, so you kind of keep yourself, well, I kept myself, I would say, I've got to own this actually, I kept myself in a bit of an injured state, but then eventually over a period of time, okay, that's going on, and I found the way to open up in there, I found the way to be more balanced, and that's linking now after a period of time of teaching for a period of time, having your own business, and just having a pretty like settled routine, and something that I'm doing is something I'm very passionate about and I love. And so having all of these things, I think, then affects or relate to where I am with my own body. So I've talked about myself there, but that whole story of myself is about learning about or understanding or an empathy for what other people might be going through and how they live their lives, and how they might be able to sort of like benefit from a particular yoga space, which has all these things in the background working to try to provide something.
Yeah, so I remember when we first spoke about this, we were talking about how you mentioned, when we kind of sit forwards and it's kind of like like you were saying, you're protecting your organs. It's kind of like a submissive, like you're trying to protect yourself position. And I was saying that there is some science about when we put our shoulders back and like retract our shoulder blades back and down, and we puff our chest out, we actually release serotonin, which is kind of the dominance hormone. It's the hormone that makes us feel in control and feel settled. There's kind of backing from all different angles of this kind of approach. And I agree with you with the idea that we can get trapped in our patterns. And if you have this injury, or if you have something that puts you into a certain physical state, if you're not paying attention to it, you can kind of get drawn away from it. And you see that in lots of people's lives. You know, you get so obsessed with something else that you forget about these different things that are affecting you, and then they kind of subconsciously affect you on a bigger level than you originally realized, and then it kind of presents itself in kind of you know, a difficult situation, or like, you know, mental health issues. So do you have any kind of, you know, experiences or kind of things that you can recall where, you know, your own mental health, or you know, someone, you don't have to mention names or anything, but someone you know has through yoga practice and through kind of being mindful of their body and mind has improved their mental health?
Now it's straight away I want to say like 100 things in response to that.
Yeah.
There's quite a lot of that in that. I'm going to kind of try and be a bit. This is how my classes run as well. I'm kind of like free thinking. I just let my brain just go and follow it. But and that's one of the reasons why I practice yoga, because my brain does like go from different things all the time. Like if I'm thinking about my dinner, it'll be like, oh yeah, right, I'm gonna have that. Oh, hang on a minute. Oh no, maybe I'll have that. Oh, maybe I feel like that. And then
I struggle so much to keep one, because like same as you, when I'm thinking about one thing, I have to practice it all the time, but when I think about one thing and I'm trying to articulate one point, my mind just constantly is flicking other points at me, and it's like, oh, don't forget to mention this, and then I just forget where I'm at, and I'm like, oh, what did I just say? And it happens to me all the time. I often stare off into space just for a few minutes while I try and figure it out. But yeah, sorry, carry on.
But there's a special creative kind of like world or place that you can go to. So it's actually I think it's a really good place to go, because that's where you can you're kind of renegotiating what's going on and resetting, and then finding another direction, figuring it out and figuring a pathway out, rather than just being at that automatic place. It's just about going into that place and being very present to it. And that's what your yoga practice, or my yoga practice and the style I teach, gets you into a very particular way of thinking, where it's not as scattered, but it's holding and staying in this space where you are just still, and you don't necessarily have to think about all these things. They kind of like slow down. That noise slows down, but it's a very particular, like, kind of meditative place to get to, which gives you space in the mind, but it gives the whole of the body space as well. And you're kind of like, in a conversation, when you have these thoughts, you're kind of searching for this place anyway. This place where things make sense. This place where, oh, okay, there's a question, but what is the answer to it? You're trying to figure it out. And you kind of, what I've realized actually is there's a particular place to get to, and I'm getting a bit spiritual here, but there's a particular place to get to where I just feel really calm, connected, and I feel very, very present. But what I need as a person, and I don't know where this is for everyone, but what I need as a person is to feel that with other people. So it's the sense of being connected to other people that gives me a sense of being connected to my own self. And it's the shared movement, the group. So in a class, everybody is working through a posture. They're in the same posture. You're all kind of experiencing a similar physical sensation. You go to the next one. You're breathing at the same pace. And the whole thing just slowly, step by step, becomes more and more a sort of heightened sense of state of consciousness, which you're just present to. And it's gonna, like, sometimes I'll see in a class where there's people who can't see themselves and their hands just move at the same time, or they scratch their head exactly at the same time and come back again. And it happens all the time, because I just think that we're all kind of aware of more than what we're consciously aware of. There's the unconscious self connecting to different things that are going on as well. And I've seen a lot of people who've got a similar thing, like the brain very busy or a lot going on, and I've seen them over a period of time just change a lot as people. But I kind of then, as I'm saying that, I hold back from saying the power of yoga. Like, I just think it's not helpful to say that yoga provides all of this, or yoga is this all-encompassing, beautiful thing that changes lives. This is a part of like all sorts of things that person's making. There's all sorts of choices they're making. But the decision to come and be in a place where they are focused on themselves already is a huge benefit. And if you're the type of person who needs or feels this connection between different people and finds that meditative peace that a flow can give you, right, then you're going to find loads of benefits from these classes, because you're looking for the same things that I'm looking for. So so I've seen lots of people. I've seen people be so shy at the very start, and then they've joined our retreats, and they've been coming for retreats 2 or 3 years, 4 years, and they come regularly. And like they not only are mates, they're not only like I would say happier with themselves, but they've also got a group of mates that they hang around with, and like this is all completely independent to me. And even those groups that go off to other studios and work with other people and go off to other things, that'll happen. Sometimes they come back, sometimes they doesn't really matter. But I've just seen people a lot happier in themselves over a period of time, and like that is hands down the best part of being able to teach, which I'm doing for my own self anyway. I'm like the one that's benefiting from it, even though I say they're all doing better and I might have helped support them, but all I've done is just kind of like do what I like to do, and they've joined in and been a part of it, but they've been made welcome to be a part of it. I think that is the key thing. So I've seen a lot. I've seen someone who's like, she's in her like mid-60s, I reckon, and she's been doing it for a year or so. She's just come up to me and went, Gurpreet, I went to the doctor, I'm an inch and a half taller than I was a year and a half ago. She's like buzzing from that. Yeah. Oh, that's brilliant. Like a lot of spinal stuff's happened. There's an opening of it, but it's also not just that. It's just that like she's also a part of loads of stuff that's happening, loads of stuff that we do, and it's yeah, like wouldn't say anything for ages, and now is like, oh yeah, check this out and that out, and you're like, yeah,
just completely changing the way people's kind of psyches work. And you know, you're talking, and I'm a big kind of believer in mindfulness, and you know, becoming kind of mindful, and I think that's something that what yoga does, and what a lot of what you're saying, I think, you know, is applying to that. And I think you know, personally, I you know, one of the things that I kind of try and express through my minds is these definitions of ourselves, where we hold ourselves to these limitations and these societal kind of norms that we just expect are normal, and we don't think about them, and we just kind of go out through our days. So for an example is, I was having a conversation with a friend yesterday who came here, and I won't say his name, but he was struggling with mental health issues, and he came and spoke to me at my house. And obviously we socially distanced, for anyone thinking, but we were speaking about it. And one thing I was talking to him about was, you know, every conversation we have, like right now when we're having a conversation, you know, every conversation between two humans, we're both trying to gain something from that conversation. Like, you know, part of this conversation with you is I am trying to make myself seem like a smart individual, or like someone who's professional, and some, you know, I am trying to gain that from this conversation. And that on your part, there's a similar thing. And everyone who's listening, if you tell someone about this interview, or you know, you're talking to someone about anything, you're always trying to gain something. And just becoming aware of that just can change the way you think, the way you act, the way you talk, because all of a sudden you've unlocked this part of just being a person that we just all accept. Like we all almost, on some level, we all think we're the only person that's trying to make ourselves look like a good person in every conversation, or you know, trying to put on some kind of act to portray this person that we think we are, or we're trying to make people think we are. And it's still like I've gone down a very deep rabbit hole there, but yoga is is doing that. You know, you're unlocking these things that you didn't even think about or realize, or you know, making yourself become aware of those things.
The symbolism between unlocking something in a posture and unlocking something internally in the mind is so strong. So if you've been able to get into a posture you never thought you could possibly do, I never thought I would ever be a yoga teacher. But then I'm doing some posture, and I'm like, oh, I've done that. So there is a pride in that. There's an opening up in my body. So I'm stronger in my body, more flexible in my body than I ever thought I would have been from when I first started. And if I can do that in a physical sense, then there's something echoing there internally as well, an openness. And so if you're trying to learn something, you're trying to better yourself, like you're saying, like how we're presenting ourselves here is a certain type of person to be better. That's also creating a space within your own mind that there's something that needs to be like bettered or filled or improved on. And that's the same for everybody. Like a therapeutic space, that as a psychotherapist, like the most important thing is that someone would say, yeah, I need some help here. I want to just like, can I join this? Can I take part in this to try and help and deal with some things that you've all of a sudden you've acknowledged that there's some things you want to work on, and you're working towards it. So that's what's going to help you find a little change or a shift. I went through years of my life where I didn't acknowledge any change. I was right about everything. I didn't need no help. Even when I trained as a psychotherapist, I didn't really kind of like fully appreciate what I was getting into. I was getting into the dance and movement side of stuff, but I actually used to be in a place where there's a lot of support, a lot of help, and it's an acknowledgement that there's something that you want to work on. Such an indulgent time, 3 years of complete and utter focus just on myself. But like, I created that space for myself because I wanted to try and develop, trying to find a bit more peace of mind. And then as in a yoga practice, it's quite interesting about yoga. You can come at it from the physical side of things, or the spiritual side of things, or the therapeutic healing sides of things. There's various ways to come into your yoga practice and various ways to develop. I came into yoga practice because I had problems in my body that I wanted to work through and improve on. But then as soon as I started to do that, the actual work was taking place at an emotional level, at a mental level. That's where a lot of the benefit was coming. And I think I've gone on a tangent.
No, this is
question, but it's about having or finding that space to try and change something and acknowledging that, and then so from a yoga perspective, yeah, like there's this physical and spiritual change going on, and it's related to that sense of who you are as a person, how you perceive yourself, and the I'm trying to reel it back into the starting point to the chat you had with your friend. But it's all a part of that same basic premise. Trying to connect to the mind and the body. Trying to connect to other people. If you try and connect to other people, you've got to lose something of yourself to try and connect to that other person. Yeah, I'm dropping it there.
That's great. I like that. That's like a quote you put on a wall or something. I like that. Anyway, I'm conscious of the time, so we'll end it there. Just as a final thing, I'll tag everything underneath the videos and things, but can you just let people know where they can find you, any like websites or emails or anything you want to?
Yeah. Well, the class itself, the sequence itself is very much flow based, and it's an organic sort of movement meditation that we work with. So most of the classes are pretty accessible to everybody. We've got now, at the moment, we are pretty much on the virtual timetable. We've got morning classes at 8 o'clock, and they are open to everybody. A gentle flow to just get you started for the day, 30-minute class. And then the evenings we can get more stuck in with more movement, and you can get a sweat on as well through the practice. But again, we'll explain it all, and so you can you can have rest as well. And then they're running at 6 o'clock, and then weekend classes too. So we're looking at coming back as soon as we can, back to Brixton. We've got studios in Brixton, but we're going to be running a live and a virtual class at the same time, so we can keep the momentum going and reaching people outside of Brixton as well now. So I might have to rename World Yoga. I don't know. We just have to think
Brixton and the rest of the world.
Interdimensional yoga.
Yeah.
Just to transcend out of space. But you can absolutely find it. There's information on our website, which is www.brixtonyoga.co.uk. And then you can also email info@brixtonyoga.co.uk. And then there's Instagram's a really good way to keep in touch. We put a timetable up on there. And I forgot to say, all the classes are free. I don't know if I just said that, but I think I did say that at the start. But you can, and that's Brixton_yoga. So yeah, awesome. Just try it out, and then just take it from there.
Yeah. Well, as you can all see, people are listening, watching, Gurpreet is a lovely guy, and I'm sure his classes are wonderful. And I will be going to some, so you may get a sneak peek of me attempting to do some kind of pose and falling on my face. So if that isn't an extra bonus, I don't know what is. But thank you, thank you very much, Gurpreet, for being part of this interview. I hope people listening have enjoyed, and are looking forward to some more interviews that we're going to be doing in the future. And yeah, thank you very much.
Thanks, George. Thank you so much. It's been really nice chatting to you, mate.
Bye, everyone. Bye.
Cheers.